Good day, everyone. This is Maria Sicania from Sicania Training and Consultancy OPC. I'm giving a lecture on the properties of a well written text. I know everyone is aware that there are some people who find writing academic essay difficult, but for others, it's as easy as eating peanuts. But today, I hope you will stay tuned until the end of the lecture because I'm going to give you some practical tips on how to write an effective essay. So, to begin with, let me ask you this question. What do you need to know to be able to write an effective essay? I'm sure you're aware that you have to consider first your audience when writing an essay on any topic, and then think about a strategy and how you can gather information that will suit or that will be applicable for the topic that you're going to write for your audience. And consider, of course, your language. Will you use formal or informal English? And of course, grammar and mechanics. Next, you also have to think about the stages of writing that you learned from high school or college. Like you start by making an outline of the important points that you will cover in your essay. That's actually pre-writing. And then from the outline, then you can draft your essay. You can still rewrite the draft essay based on your outline and based on the information that you have gathered from different sources. And of course, you have to consider the three parts of an essay: the introduction, body, and conclusion. So that's actually the structure. Next, now we're going to talk, in detail the properties of a well written text. Every text should observe three qualities: unity, coherence, and emphasis. We will discuss these three qualities one by one as I go along with my discussion. Number two is every text should have a smooth flow of ideas, and that's what we call cohesion. Next, I'm going to give you some practical tips on how you can achieve these qualities of a well-written text, from unity to emphasis. When we talk about unity, it refers to oneness of idea, that all the information, all the details that you're going to include in your essay should be relevant to the topic. Avoid digressions. And number two is coherence. This refers to logical organization of ideas. So what will be your what will be the main points that you will cover in your essay, and how are you going to arrange these many main points, as well as the supporting details in each main point. So we'll talk about that later on. And number three is emphasis. This refers to a characteristic of writing that makes it interesting and forceful. So this is the use of language. Next, we'll talk about unity in detail, and we'll have a sample paragraph to critique. So, a text or an essay develops one idea, and this idea is reflected usually in a thesis statement. So, every essay has a thesis statement or the main idea, and this provides the writer the direction on how he or she can proceed in writing. Next, when we say again unity, if you have three main points in your essay, and you have to discuss each of these main points. So one paragraph is allotted for one main point, and every paragraph in your essay should have a topic sentence, and this topic sentence should be supported by details. As I said earlier, the principle of unity requires that the writer should include relevant ideas and avoid digressions. Make sure that the information that you will provide will only support the topic sentence of each paragraph. So let's take a look at this sample paragraph from a book that I have read so far. So here, the first time I went to Santa Cruz, I saw how different the place was from what I had pictured it to be. So there is actually a mismatch between the the envisioned Santa Cruz, so how the writer pictured it to be before, and then the actual Santa Cruz. So there's a big difference. And of course, if you read the second sentence, I had just graduated from high school and I was staying in the city as a guest of my two favorite aunts. So I guess this is not that important. Then Tita Mercedes had a mole on her left cheek. See, this is a digression. It violates the principle of unity. So it's not related to the topic. So I had thought of Santa Cruz. So number four is again this is relevant to the topic sentence, which is the first. I had thought of Santa Cruz having white, paved streets bordered by flowering plants, tall modern buildings filled with offices and shops, and well dressed people riding in cars and buses. So that's actually the picture of Santa Cruz in the writer's mind. And number five, it is true that there were many buildings. So this is now comparing the envisioned Santa Cruz, so what he pictured Santa Cruz to be, and the actual Santa Cruz, it's number five. Yeah, there were tall buildings or many buildings, right? But not far from the imposing edifices were dilapidated houses and makeshifts of packing cases with rusty tin roofs. So you see, it's very different. Many streets were narrow and full of holes. Piles of garbage rotted on the broken sidewalks, and hungry-looking, ill-clothed people wandered on the streets. So these are the sentences that support the topic, and these sentences describe the actual or the real Santa Cruz, which is very different from what the writer pictured Santa Cruz to be in his imagination. And if you notice, number eight and number nine, they're not related, to the topic. Again, these are digressions. Again, the principle of unity requires that when you write an essay, all paragraphs in the essay should develop your thesis statement, and each paragraph should have a main idea or a topic sentence. Again, all these sentences should support the main topic of each paragraph. Number two is the principle of coherence. It refers to the logical organization of ideas or the proper arrangement or sequence of ideas in a text. That's basically the reason why, as a writer, you have to start, read, and outline first. So what will be your first main points? What will be your introduction? What will you cover in the introduction and in the body of the essay? You organize, of course, your three main points. These main points, as I said, should be reflected in each paragraph or body paragraph of your essay. And each body paragraph should have a topic sentence with supporting details. So that's you need to really structure your essay. And the best way to do that is to make an outline. And are the ways. No, these are the strategies by which you can organize your essay. So first one is order of importance. You need to arrange the details from the most important to the least important, or vice versa. Second one is, this is number two, order in space, from top to bottom, or vice versa, or from left to right. And this is for descriptive essay. And number three is chronological order. You have to consider the sequence of events, especially if you're telling a story or historical event. And the fourth one is the logical order, wherein you arrange the details from inductive or the deductive reasoning. We'll be taking that up one at a time. So for the order of importance, as I said earlier, you have to consider the most important events or most important information to the least important, or the least important first, then moving on to the most important. For instance, in choosing a school or a university for college, high school graduates, these are the things that these are the details or the main points that can be covered. One is choose a degree program. And then two, identify the top three universities to choose from, look at the tuition fees and its distance or safety. So remember the cost of transportation. So that's why you need to consider distance. Okay, so this information, or this main points from A to D um, are arranged according to the order of importance. Choosing a degree program is the most important to consider in choosing a school or a university. Of course, followed by which of identifying the top universities that offer, you know, that degree program. And then C, we have, of course, the tuition fee, and then the last one is distance. All right, this is number two, order in space. Arrangement of details from top to bottom or vice versa. When you're writing a descriptive paragraph or essay, you need to follow order in space. You have to describe the scenery from from a distance, like you are, so it could be from near to far or from far to near, or if you are describing what you see inside the house, it could be from top to bottom. So it's you have here an example. Life-size portrait of a middle-aged woman wearing kimono and saya hangs at the center of the wall at the receiving room. And beside the portrait, so it's from top to bottom, beside the portrait is a large frame bouquet of cross-stitched red roses. Below the artifacts is a sofa. Beside the sofa on the right is a century-old heirloom Chinese porcelain vase. And just in front of the sofa is a center table with stacks of old newspapers underneath. At the far end is a doorway leading to the kitchen. So this is again from top to bottom. The arrangement of details starts from the top and then to the bottom. Third one is chronological order. So when you're telling a story or writing a biographical sketch or character sketch, you can follow this chronological or timeline. So here is an example. Of course, the essay that I wrote here about Sylvester Stallone is quite long. So what I did here is I just put down all the bullet points, the chronological events or events that happened in the life of Sylvester Stallone. First one, of course, I described him as an ordinary guy before he became a star. So at first, he dreamed to become a star. So he wrote a script inspired by a boxing underdog, Chuck Wepner, in 1975. He tried selling the script to several producers, but all were in vain. So no producer accepted her script, or rather his script. He wouldn't sell the script unless the producer would agree to take him as a lead actor. So that's one condition. So before the producer would accept his script, it has the condition is he will be the lead actor. And finally, there was one producer who agreed, and it became, a phenomenal movie, which and the title is Rocky. It was written by Sylvester Stallone, and it won the Best Picture in 1976. That's actually the chronological events when Sylvester Stallone became a star, who started from being nobody to somebody, right? Deductive. So we have the fourth logical order. So which is the logical order rather is the fourth order of paragraph development, and this is divided into two, deductive and inductive. For deductive is when you arrange the information or details, you start from the general statement to specific details, and the opposite is inductive. You start from specific details to general statement. So this is an example. Mark is an outstanding student. That's actually a general statement. So this is logical order following the deductive method of development. The succeeding sentences are supporting points, which means they are details that support the topic sentence, which is Mark is an outstanding student. And what are the details to prove that? Every day, Mark studies all his lessons in all his subjects, regardless of whether a quiz will be given or not. That is why he gets high scores in all his quizzes and tests. Not only that, he also participates actively during class discussions, and is admired for his eloquence in both English and Filipino. So good in English, good in Filipino. He studies his lessons all the time. What else? Moreover, he is commended for his flair in writing essays and research reports. It's no wonder why Mark excels in academics. So see, so all the information or details support Mark being an outstanding student, and this particular topic sentence is restated in the concluding statement, which says that Mark, the reason why Mark excels in academics. All right. So every day, this one is the opposite, which is inductive method. So from specific details, you draw the conclusion at the end. So let's read the inductive order of paragraph development here. So every day, Mark studies all his lessons in all his subjects, regardless of whether a quiz will be given or not. That's why he gets high scores and all. It's the same thing. And he participates actively, etc. He's admired for his eloquence. Moreover, he's commended, etc. And then, indeed, Mark is an outstanding student. So you have the word indeed to conclude. So that's again, how do we call that? Inductive method. So now we move on to the third. We move on to the third principle or characteristic of a good essay or a good paragraph, and that's emphasis. So what is emphatic writing? It can be achieved in three ways. Again, earlier we mentioned that emphasis is emphasis is the third principle or of characteristic of a good paragraph. And in order to achieve emphasis, we need to consider the language used, the style, or we call it language style, and of course the uh, the sentences should be forceful and interesting for the reader so that they will not get bored in reading your essay. So this emphasis or emphatic writing can be achieved in three ways: the use of proportion, positional arrangement, and repetition or parallel structure. For the first one, which is proportion, it only means devoting more space or aspect of greater importance. So as a writer, when you write an essay, you need to consider which is the most important idea. So if you notice, the second paragraph here is longer. So this is the introduction, the first paragraph, and then the second paragraph is the body. The third paragraph still, but the body of the essay, and then the last one is the conclusion. So if you notice, the second paragraph is longer than the third. So that is that is what we mean by proportion. You allot the biggest space to the most important idea. And the second paragraph details how Nick became successful. So that's why it was given the biggest space. The second way of making your essay emphatic is through position or arrangement. Arrangement of sentences can be done in a climactic order to achieve emphasis. So this is an example. God's hand. So darkness envelopes the night, brightened up by occasional strikes of lightning. So there is a storm here. Thunder roars mightily as rains pour heavily. Rough winds rage strongly, sweeping away even the top metal roofs of houses in the village, leaving its residents forlorn. Yet, after every storm, the sun shines through, heralding a new day. So this is basically how storm builds up, from darkness. So everything is dark at the beginning, and then you can now sense the rough winds or strong winds coming, and of course they sweep away the metal roofs, etc. And then of course there's a heavy rain. So that's just actually climactic. But every storm, of course, comes a new day because the sun shines through. And the third one is repetition and parallel structure. It's you repeat some of the important words in your essay. So similar to this example taken from Salvador Lopez, it is commonplace to say that nationalism is one of the most potent factors in the cultural development of a people. Love of one's own is essential in the equipment of all truly civilized human beings. It is the only safe and sensible basis for the appreciation of things that pertain to others. So it's talking about nationalism. You love your own people, your own country. Only those who truly love their own country and people their tradition, history, and destiny can develop a sincere interest in and admiration for the tradition, history, and destiny of other countries and peoples. Only they can become genuine cosmopolite citizens of the world. So if you notice, the pattern which is repeated is only those, and then only they. And the words repeated are the following: history, destiny, then you have the country, people. So again, repetition of words is another way of making the ideas emphasized in your essay. Next, number two. So the first one, we have we have number one earlier, that in order to write an effective essay, so you should observe the principle of uh, the qualities of a good essay, like the unity, coherence, and emphasis. That's one. Number two is every text should have smooth flow of ideas. We call this cohesion. um, Now, you have already arranged the details or information in your essay following an outline. So you have already um, thought about your thesis statement and the three main points that you will include in your essay. The next thing to do is you you have already sequenced them. Now, in writing an essay, consider transitions from between paragraphs, transitions between sentences. So you have to use cohesive devices, and these are the cohesive devices you can use: use of conjunctions, use of pronouns. You can also use these and these. So these are reference words, and you have synonyms and repetition. There are other cohesive devices, but these are the most commonly used. So here is an example. So writing is an act of stringing words to convey meaning. So that's actually the topic sentence of this paragraph. So this intellectual activity, this here is again a demonstrative pronoun, but this is used now as an adjective because it modifies intellectual activity. Intellectual activity repeats the idea of writing, but in a different way. So it's not that simple, for it requires critical thinking. You need to know how to put ideas together and to use appropriate transitions to achieve clarity in your entire essay. Being able to express your intended meaning, you have, instead of saying convey, remember, writing is an act of words to convey meaning, and the word convey is, instead of repeating that word, you use to express, no, in a way your readers can decipher. Requires the ability to organize your thoughts well. This can be done. So this again is transition. It's a cohesive device to refer to organizing thoughts. And this can be done. So instead of repeating, organizing your thoughts can be done. So this can be done instead of using that, these, by first gathering facts about a topic you will write on. And if here is the conjunction, then to continue the idea, organize your data. So instead of using facts, so you use a synonym for facts, so still cohesive device through an outline. Guided by your outline, repeat the word outline. You can now develop an essay. So this particular paragraph follows um, what we call the principle of cohesion because it uses cohesive devices such as pronouns, conjunctions. Of course, you have the synonyms, repetition of words. Now, let me just again summarize or give you again some practical tips on how we can make our essays effective. The first one, you have to consider grammar or diction, language use. Of course, we have a separate session for grammar. Number two, so that's why I did not discuss this in this lecture. Number two is clarity and focus. What gives your essay clarity and focus is your thesis statement and the topic sentence for every paragraph. Number three, there should be the main idea, or as I said, thesis statement or theme, and use punctuations correctly. So that's mechanics. And your number five is thought-provoking and emotionally inspiring text. So you have to you have to consider the uh, the way you write your essay, the way you organize your essay, and of course the information that you put in there. The so that makes that will make your essay thought-provoking. So this is the summary of today's lecture. that a well written text should observe the following: the qualities of a text, such as unity, coherence, and emphasis that we discussed earlier, the organization. How do you organize your essay? By making an outline. Next is cohesion. You have to use cohesive devices like conjunctions, use of repetition, synonym, etc. Language use, again, this is grammar, and language use is this the your diction, the vocabulary, levels of formality. Formal English is used in essay, and of course, grammar. Grammar and style, clarity and focus. There should be again a theme, and use mechanics or punctuations correctly. And more importantly, your essay should be thought provoking and emotionally inspiring. Thank you so much, and I hope you learned something for today's lecture.